Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to upgrade our dash lights to some blue LEDs. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is remove all this stuff I have on my dash so I can get to the proper screws. So I'll be right back after I've taken all this off. Just for reference, here's what my dash lights look like before I install the LEDs. Not very bright, and they're kind of an ice blue. Okay, now we're just going to go ahead and remove this plastic panel, and it's just 2 screws. So go ahead and knock that out. Okay, now I've got the screws out, and it's still got a couple clips, so I'm going to use a flathead screwdriver, and I usually just wrap a little bit of electrical tape on the end of a flathead screwdriver to prevent it from scratching anything when I'm using it to pry. Go. So when you're prying, the clips are actually up at the top. Okay, so the next thing we'll have to remove is this plastic bezel that goes all the way across. There's a couple of screws under here that you need to get to, and it's the same as before. I'm just going to use my screwdriver to gently stick it in there and pry it up. I'll try and set you guys somewhere so you can see, but not much to it. Okay, so just gently pry up in one spot and work your way down. You can kind of pull up, and where you see it still holding is where the next clip will be. So you can just work your way down. There we go. I'll show you this one from outside the windshield since there's no room to maneuver. But right here's the top of the dash cluster. You have 3 screws you need to remove from right there. So I'm going to go ahead and remove those. There's really no good way for me to film that. Okay, after you have those removed, there's 2 more on the inside. You'll have one right here and then an identical one on the opposite side, and mine is actually cracked, so it looks like I only have to take out the one on the other side. Go ahead and remove those 2. Okay, now with those 2 screws removed, you should be able to take this bezel cover off. There we go. I'm going to set this off to the side, and now you've got a screw there, another one on the other side, same up there. So we just got to remove those 4 screws, and then we should be able to pull out the gauge cluster. Okay, now with those 4 screws removed, the gauge cluster should be able to be pulled out. Climb up here. My wires are slightly caught. There we go. Alright. So now with the gauge cluster loose, Oops. I'll bring you guys around over here. And you can just reach back there and pull out those two wiring clips. All right. On the left side here, the clip has a release towards the inside, and on this right side, the clip has a release also towards the middle. So pull those out, and you can remove your gauge cluster. Okay, so here is the back of the gauge cluster, and these are your actual lights. So you can twist those out with your fingers. And this is what gives it that blue kind of color in there. It's actually just a regular bulb, but it has this rubber film over it to give it some color. We're going to be replacing these with these LEDs I bought that I will link in the description. Let me move this out of the way. And these should be much brighter. These have 1, 2, 3 actual LED lights on them, where this is just the one bulb, so it should add quite a bit of light. It comes with the new base clips to put them in there, so you just load it in. Push it down in there, and then you would take it and twist it into place. Now, with these, this probably is explaining it actually right here, you will have a polarity you need to worry about, which I'm not gonna try and act like I'm an expert, but essentially the old bulbs could be put in either way. With these LEDs, if you screw them in and it doesn't light up, take it out, flip it, and then screw it back in the other way, and that will flip the polarity. Basically, you need the positive and negative to be on the correct side. So I'm going to go ahead and replace all of these real quick, and then I'll stick it in and I'll check the lights. Okay, so all you have to do to check the lights, you don't have to remount it or do anything crazy, just stick it back in there, and all you have to do is plug in the white clip on the right side, and then if I could quit turning on my hazards. Now that it's in there, flip my lights on, we'll see what happens. Okay, so, well, maybe 1 or 2 of the lights work and then this side doesn't, so that's a good example. So I'll pull it back out real quick, head back over to the bench, and then flip them around. Okay, so this one, and this one for sure weren't working, so we can pull these out real quick. And just like this, you can do it with the LED, or you can do it just flipping the whole thing around. I'll just flip the LED real quick. So I'm gonna pull that out, flip it, put it back in. And then stick this back in. Do the same thing here. Like I said, you could just take out the clip, leave the LED alone, and turn it all the way around to flip it that way and put the clip back in. But I believe some of the dash clusters on the older TJs are a little different. So if yours is different and it has a block where you can't do that, it can only screw in one way, I just want to make it more clear for everyone this way. All right, let's plug it back in. Okay, so I went ahead and plugged it back in, so let's check the lights now. Oh yeah, that looks much better. And you can do different colors. I just chose this darker blue because it matches the color of my radio. And yeah, that looks pretty good. So if you've still got any out, just pull it back out real quick, flip the LED, stick it back in and check it until you get them all working. And then we just go back through the process of reassembling the Jeep. And I'm not really going to make you watch me do that because that's just a few screws and then clipping it back together. Okay, so now we're going to get into the experimental part of the video that I haven't really researched. But there's lights in here too that are the same kind of color as the old ones, and I want to replace those with the nice blue LEDs so everything matches. I believe they're the same LEDs, but like I said, I haven't researched it, so I'm going to pull this apart and check, and if they're the same, I'm going to swap them out too. Okay, so I went ahead and put back together this side of the dash and everything. The only thing I didn't put back is that long plastic piece across the top, because we'll need that off to unscrew this. There's 2 screws up here, and then the rest is just clips. So we just got to take these screws out real quick. Which, let me give you a quick peek at where they are. Right there. Just those 2 screws. I don't know why my GoPro is trying to stabilize and turning things sideways, but let me pull those screws out real quick. Alright, with those 2 screws out, oh, yikes, almost killed you. Anyway, with those 2 screws out, I'll move that out of the way. You should just be able to pop this little guy off. Spin this around real quick. Okay. So there's a couple clip points. That's all, you just gotta gently pull, not too hard in one spot, just kind of gently pull around and get each of those clips individually to pop off. And now we have access underneath. So we've got 2 screws here. Go ahead and unscrew those. And then we can probably check and see if these are the same LEDs or the same bulb outlets. Okay, so I was right. These 3 are the lights in this instrument panel. This is what they look like, much smaller than the other ones. So I found them on Amazon, so I'm going to order those. It says they'll be here tomorrow, so I'll just finish this video tomorrow, and I'll also link these in the description. But pretty simple. If you can see on the back here, there's a little line in it. I just used a skinny flathead screwdriver, stuck it right there, twisted it out. Not a big deal. So we'll come back tomorrow when I can make all my lights match. Okay guys, so I'm going to try and hop back into this. It's now 2 days later. I'm not totally sure exactly where I left off before, but I believe I had just had this removed. So I also went ahead and removed this bottom panel so I could check what light bulbs were in the rocker switch. And that, to remove that, is just 4 screws, 1 here, 1 there, and then same 2 on the other side. So go ahead and remove those and you can get access to your rocker switches. From there, I think up here we left off where I had removed 1 of these, and I've now removed all 3. These 3 are actually the lights that light up these guys. So here is the replacement LED, and that is compared to one of these, which is the original bulb. They look the same, looks like it should fit. So we'll go ahead and try and stick one of those in there real quick. And there's a little gap on the back of these that you can fit a very small flathead screwdriver into and try and tighten them down, but you can't crank very hard, and it seems like they need a little bit of a crank. Okay, so that one needs flipped. I almost got lucky. Turn that out real quick. Oh, that's a nice little glow. Doesn't look bad at all. I was worried how the blue would work with the red. I didn't know if it'd turn it purple or what, but that's not too bad. Alright. So from there, I'm just going to go ahead and plug this back in, and once I get this plugged back in, maybe I'll move on. If I get this plugged back in. Alright, so all my connections are plugged in back here. I'm going to stick this up here and toss in one screw, if I can reach it, to hold this out of the way while I do the rocker switches. If you guys find yourself struggling with this and getting a little frustrated, just remember, I'm working around a camera while I'm trying to do this, so pity me, please. Alright, now I'm going to move on to the rocker switches. Okay, so to get the rocker switch out of the little holder here, it's actually just two little clips on the top and bottom. You can just take a flathead screwdriver, kind of pop the top and pop it out from the bottom. Not very hard. And then, just to show you, this one up top is the actual indicator light. So when this switch is on, this little light lights the indicator. Now, this bottom one is what we're changing, which is what actually illuminates this with a blue, or blue in my case, because I'm using a blue LED. So we're going to go ahead and, just like the others, unscrew the bottom. Another one of those little fellers. And then grab another LED. Put it in there and tighten it. Alright, that is actually lit up blue. I don't know if you can see it on the camera. Yep. Alright, so that's not bad. So that one's done. So this one, as you can see, has no indicator light. So there's no bulb up top. But you still have one on the bottom. So go ahead and unscrew that one. Drop it out. And now we'll grab one more LED. Twist it in. We'll check it. Oh man, I'm getting lucky with the polarity. Alright, freaking me out, strobe light. So we'll turn those off. And now I'll stick the switches back in. Okay, so I'm going to grab my drill and tighten these two screws back in and do the 4 down here, and then I'll be right back with you. Alright, I went ahead and put this cover back on around it too. That's just pushing it on, it clips into place, no big deal there. So the next thing we have to do is put 2 screws in up here, and right before I do that, I'll kill the lights real quick, double check that everything I've changed is working, which it is. Yep, everything's got a nice blue, and then the dash lights over here are working really good. And then, even if I want, I've got blue floor lights. So everything's matching. One other thing, I don't have an automatic, I have a manual, so that's one thing to consider. I believe if you have an automatic, you have another indicator light down here for the shifter and everything. I can't remember exactly which one of those the LEDs is. I remember reading about it, but I do know that that one is one of these other LEDs we've already used. I think it's the same as the dash lights. So if you've got all of these to do yours, you'll have a matching one for an automatic as well. Just a little side note. So go ahead and take your 2 screws and screw those in up there. Okay, so the final part to putting your Jeep back together is just put this top dash bezel back in. Not very difficult. It just clips in. So alright, so now I just have to put the rest of my Jeep back together. These are all extras that I have that you might not have, but if you've put it all back together and you're in good shape, that's all you got to do for the lights. Okay, just to go over it real quick, just quick light visual. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it with the lights on, but on the floorboards, you have one on each side. It's just up in here. One of mine had this cap on it, which is over it, and one did not, so you'll probably have caps over it unless you lost one. So you just pull those off and pull the bulb right out, and then all you got to do is take your new bulb, which will look like this, and push it up in there, and then put your cap back on, and it's as simple as that to do your floorboard lights. And then for your dome lights, you'll have these plastic covers on there most likely. You can just pull those off, and without blinding you, those are just clips, so you just pull out the old light, push the new one in, no big deal, and then stick this back on. One of these clips on this cover is bigger than the other, so just line the bigger clip up and then push the others in. Well, it's easier to do with 2 hands, but there you go. That's all there is to changing those dome lights. And you can use colored dome lights if you want, or you can use white floorboard lights. This is just kind of what I went with, but the process is the same for whatever color LED you pick. Hey guys, just going to give you a quick look at the lights here in a darker setting at the end of the video. And real quick, I also want to mention, sorry that the second half of the video wasn't as good of quality or well thought out. I'm also in the middle of a fuel tank swap, so a little rushed, a little crowded in here right now, so I was just trying to get this half of the video done. But here's the lights in a darker setting. The dash lights look absolutely amazing. I know they're blurry in the camera, but they're nice and clear in person. These lights turned out pretty good. They seem pretty dark in the camera, but they're also, you know, a lot more visible in person. These are definitely a lot brighter, but those are not bad at all. And then we've got the blue floor lights, and then we got these ultra bright LED dome lights. So all in all, this project went pretty good. And I don't think it costs a lot of money, maybe 40 bucks for all the various LEDs, and I've got plenty of spares. But yeah, just wanted to give you this. Thanks for coming along on this little LED adventure, and I hope you guys subscribe and comment any suggestions you have for me, and I'll see you on the next one.